Hey everyone, happy college football. Welcome to Porcelain Picks. I'm your host, Andrew Fabian, and it's Sunday morning. We're one day out from the final game of the year, the College Football National Championship. This is our championship show. The Porcelain Picks, we are here to bring you the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. We've been doing that all season long for you. We come into this game, the final game of the year, with a record of 139, 110, and 3. I have two picks for you in the national championship game that I'm going to give to you shortly. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be bringing you some content this offseason as well, but whether it's the transfer portal, whether it's the realignment of the conferences in college football, or just changes that I expect to come up in the next few years with the playoff expansion, et cetera, TV deals, so on and so forth. A lot of changes happening in college football. You can make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow along. We'll prep you for next season so you'll be ready to go from day one. All right, so we'll dive into the action here. We've got a matchup between Michigan and Washington. Michigan's a 4.5-point favorite. Washington is just now gaining some national recognition as the money's coming in on Washington as the underdog in this game. We've got the over-under set at 56.5. Let's take a look back at last week. All right, you know that we picked Washington to come ahead in Texas. I told you that they were going to cover the spread and possibly win that game. They did just that. We took the over-under in that game, got that correct. I did tell you that Alabama was going to come out and beat Michigan. I thought Jalen Milroe was going to come out and be able to run the football. Michigan's not built defensively to defend a Russian quarterback. They made him look like a JV high school quarterback that game. He passed for fewer than 140 yards. And Michigan was never really in trouble outside of the problems they put themselves in with special teams. And I expect that's going to be cleaned up today by Jim Harbaugh and his staff. On the Washington side in the bowl game last week, again, these guys got overlooked all season long. They played against an Oregon team twice. Both times they were underdogs. In the Pac-12 championship game, they were 9.5-point underdogs. People picked against them. We picked against them. Everyone thought Oregon was the strongest team in the Pac-12. Washington proved them wrong not once but twice. And then that game last week against Texas, people were against them. People thought the Texas brand, Texas's strength was going to outman Washington, but that did not happen. And on the Washington side, I've been super impressed with Michael Penix all season long. I think this guy should have won the Heisman Trophy. Jaden Daniels, no offense, you were a great player, you played well all year, but Michael Penix Jr. was the best player in college football this season. I think he's going to come out, I think he's going to have a big national championship game, and I'll give you my pick on this game coming up shortly. This guy's got a lot of weapons on his side. All right, he's got Rome Odunze. He's the best wide receiver in college football, maybe outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. He's also got Jalen Polk, and he's got Jalen McMillan. So he's got three major threats on the outside, and we all know those as household names after that Texas game because these guys went off. The biggest thing that's going to impact Washington in this game, they've got really nice pass protection on the offensive line. Their running game has not been good already this year. Dylan Johnson is not going to be at full strength at running back. He got injured right at the end of that Texas game. He's playing in the national championship game. I'm not sure how much time he's going to get. I think it's gamesmanship. I think he's a guy they want to get suited up. They want to have him available, but I don't think he's going to be at full strength. And I think that's really going to hurt Washington and potentially, hopefully not, but potentially make them one-dimensional on offense. They strive in that situation. They haven't been running the football all season long. They've been getting it done through the air. But that is going to play to Michigan's favor, which I'll explain in just a second. All right. On the Michigan side of the football, we know that they come in with that suffocating defense. We know they've lulled opposing teams to sleep with their run game on the offensive side of the football. Michigan is a force to be reckoned with. They're a complete team. They're not necessarily a sexy team, but they get the job done. All right. There's two styles of play that are going to come in this game. All right, Michigan is going to attempt to slow this game down. They're going to attempt to limit the amount of total possessions. That's the possessions that they have, the possession that Washington has. They're going to try to keep the ball out of Penix's hands. You may say that sounds obvious, but Michigan is going to play slow football. They're going to slow it down, and they're going to try to win in the trenches, which they've done all season long. On the Washington side, they're going to try to speed this game up. They stand their best chance the more possessions both teams get, all right? Because that's more outs. If they throw a pick, if they get a turnover, which Michigan is in all likelihood going to force, Washington wants to have as many shots as they can to put points on the board. They want a track meet. In my opinion, the only way Washington wins this game is if it's a track meet. If this game is up in the 30s, maybe the high 30s, I think that's what Washington needs. They have one track to win this game, and it's on the arm of Michael Penix Jr. Michigan has a few different tracks. All right. I think Washington's defense is suspect when it comes to the run game. When it comes to total yardage, they're 97th in the country in total yardage given up, 54th in total average points given up on defense. All right. This would be the worst statistically ranked defense to win the national championship in the BCS era, since back when the BCS era. For those of you who actually remember that, so that's dating back to 1998. This would be the worst statistically ranked defense to win the national championship if they get the job done. All right, not a spot you want to be in against a team that has Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. Although they have not had the season this year that they had last year, I think both of these guys are going to be able to establish the run. Okay. Michigan had a lot of special teams gaffes against Alabama last week. I think they were the much better team on the field. They outplayed Alabama most of the game outside of the third quarter there. But they're going to clean up those special teams mistakes. I don't think Washington can come into this game, nor do I think they will, suspecting that that's what's going to happen this game. I think Washington knows they're going to have to put together a perfect game on the offensive side of the ball. So to tell you a quick story too. All right, so this Michigan team, COVID year 2020, they had a horrible year. Before that, they were not competing with Ohio State. But back in 2021, Michigan made some significant changes to the way they structured this roster, okay? You may say, all right, Michigan we're coming into this game, they're a favorite, just like Texas was last week, just like Oregon was the week before in the Pac-12 championship game, and then during the season when these two teams battled. What's going to be different? Michigan's coming in as a short favorite. Washington's been overlooked. Washington's going to get the job done. Michigan's going to get exposed on defense. All right, they've played against Big Ten offenses. Their defense is nothing actually special. You might be saying it yourself. All right, back in 2021. Michigan made a choice on defense. They got rid of their defensive coordinator. They got guys in there. They recruited in the secondary. They set themselves up to beat an Ohio State team that was built on offense, a lot like this Washington team is today. All right, 2021, we had C.J. Stroud, we had Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and we had Jackson Smith and Jigba on the Ohio State side of the ball. Does that sound familiar to you? 3 amazing receivers now in the NFL. We've got a quarterback who's now in the NFL and C.J. Stroud. Looks a lot like what this Washington offense looks like. All right, Michigan put their team together, put their staff together to be able to beat that Ohio State team. And while that year in 2021, Stroud went off. He had over 300 yards passing. He had 2 touchdowns, no picks. These guys got beat. Michigan was able to solve that defensive drought that they had against Ohio State for years. And they did that with secondary play. They did that with the linebacker play, and they did that with the pass rush. That's exactly what they're going to try to do here against this Washington team. They are built on the outside to be able to defend these receivers. They're built on the defensive line to get pressure on Michael Penix Jr. This is a different defense than Washington's faced at all this season. And while you could say the same thing, this is a different offense than the Michigan team faced all year. Yes, it is. Ohio State's offense this year was not quite as good as Washington's is. No one's arguing that it was. But I think that Michigan is built to defend this Washington defense. I think they're going to force turnovers. I do think they're going to limit Washington's possessions. I think they're going to disrupt Michael Penix, and they're going to be able to defend on the outside in their zone coverage game that they play, and they're going to suffocate the Washington Huskies. I'll be sitting here as a Penn State Nittany Lion cheering for Washington all game long. I love Michael Penix. This dude's a player. I love Rome Odunze and the rest of this Washington receiving core. Ultimately, I do think Jim Harbaugh is going to get the victory in this game. I think Michigan's going to run the football in the second half the same way we saw them do against Penn State, the same way we saw them do against Ohio State. I think J.J. McCarthy's a gamer. I think he's going to be able to make plays when it matters, like he did against Alabama. And I think ultimately Michigan's going to come out they're going to win this game 34-24. All right, Texas got smoked in a track meet against Washington. Oregon got smoked in track meets against Washington. Michigan is going to suffocate Washington. 34-24 Wolverines final. That's Michigan -4.5. Lock it, flush it. And that is take the over 56.5. Lock it, flush it. All right. If you've stuck with me this long, your bonus pick. All right. I'm going to go Jackson Dart for the Heisman. He's plus 2,000 right now. That Ole Miss wide receiving core is going to be second to none next year. You got Lane Kiffin as a coach. There's your bonus pick. Put a little flyer out there on Jackson Dart for the Heisman in 2024. We at Porcelain Picks have been here all season long for you. Thanks for sticking with us. We're here for you. We're here to bring you the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. Happy college football, everyone. Enjoy the national championship. I'm Andrew Fabian. Good night.